when there's so much talk about what is a public and what is a private act, right? And the questions that the magistrates were asking were geared towards determining, really, what is a private act, what is a public act, when really, I mean, and if you look back through history, American presidents have essentially acted as though they have absolute immunity when they are in the Oval Office on so many issues.
Absolutely, and I think it's really important also to understand that those very presidents also acted within the bounds of certain norms. They were committed to certain values. And so what happens when you have an actor who inhabits the White House, who has what seems to be unlimited executive power, not bound by those norms? You end up in a situation where you have to clarify these sorts of matters in order to draw boundaries.
Yeah, it was Justice Sotomayor who talked about her bigger concern not being, chilling future presidents from taking action because they don't have some kind of presidential immunity, but actually emboldening future presidents from doing whatever the heck they want because they are immune from a criminal prosecution. Charles?
But there's a very important linchpin in this distinction. Private acts, official acts, criminal acts. And I think that part has to be inserted from a legal perspective. We're not just talking about the execution of duties. We're talking about things that on another level would be considered to be criminal, or you could be criminally charged. And that's important to understand. That's a very sort of important wrinkle that got lost between the lines. We're not just talking about anything that you do. We're talking about something that you do that we presuppose to be criminal. So, for example, if you recall when they were talking about on both sides the notion of a president staging a coup, that notion. But when they were questioning the government lawyer, the question then became, well, what's illegal about that? And so I think that notion was really that's the piece that has to be remembered when we're making the distinction between official acts versus private.
So, Catherine, what happens now going forward at the Supreme Court? What are the options, and what's the timing?
Wait for the decision, and will they do it fast? So this is April. They could possibly have it done by May, or they're going to wait, like what usually happens, is the end of June. So it's going to be on them. And you saw there was, I'll call it a split of how this should be. It might be a long time because they each want to write their own decision. So they can, and they've done this. They have had decisions come out quickly. Think of Bush v. Gore. Or they can wait, and then we wait to June. And then it goes back to Judge Chutkan. Will it go back to Judge Chutkan to do a hearing on the private versus, official, or will it go back for trial? And then will she be able to expedite it, meaning Judge Chutkan, to at least start it before Election Day? That's going to be tough.
Given how the justices spoke about this being such a consequential case, again, for setting the path forward in the history of this country and really making a mark in the history books with this decision, I mean, do you see any possibility of them coming up with a unanimous decision and feeling like it has that sort of level of importance that they are unanimous?
I highly doubt that there is many possibilities that would lead us to a unanimous decision, primarily because I don't necessarily know that they're all going to be on the same page as to what question they're answering or what question they choose to answer.
Yeah, would we have clarity? That's the thing. I mean, would any decision give us clarity to create that new precedent?
I think that if we want to limit the question to whether there exists absolute immunity under any and every circumstance, that might be the only thing that they choose to sort of address. And I don't necessarily think that they would address it in a way that would sort of wash their hands of it in the case. But in terms of settling that question in a way that allows Donald Trump's other prosecutions to move forward, I don't expect a unanimous decision there.
Eddie, are these questions that are going to be answered only for Donald Trump or for future presidents as well?
Future presidents.
It should be.
Should be, absolutely. But I want us to really understand today was historic. I would have never imagined, as a country boy from Mississippi, being in a moment like this one. I mean, what we heard today is just mind-blowing at the scale in which our democracy is on the table at this point, Catherine. What do you think?
And Donald Trump is right now sitting in Manhattan Court on trial
Yeah, that's
for criminal behavior. So it's like Supreme Court, And he's actually a defendant on trial in Manhattan right now.
How do you see the outcome of this decision impacting these other cases? Because, again, this was involving the one case, the D.C. election interference case. That's where this originated, this question of presidential immunity. Of course, Donald Trump has also argued presidential immunity in a couple of other cases. We know the one in Georgia, as well as his other federal case involving the classified documents. Will this decision set the tone for the direction those other cases go?
Very possible that it could, depending on how it's decided and what it's decided upon. It may create the space for his attorneys to go in Mar-a-Lago and go in Georgia and try and make the argument. This, at a minimum, could potentially provide Donald Trump with the delay that he is looking for to make sure that he avoids going to trial on anything else before the election. And for him, that is the win that he's looking for, both personally and politically.
And so, yeah, for the folks that have been watching this all morning, the conclusion is that this specific case is not going to be decided in the short term.
It
Correct?
might. They can make it happen
Short term
if they
meaning
want
what?
to.
How
Short term
quick can they
meaning
do it?
within a few weeks. But they could do that if they want to. But expect maybe June.
Really?
I think of Bush v. Gore. Remember how quickly that was decided. And that was clearly a very important decision because it decided who was going to be president.
All right.
I mean, I think if there's any indication really quickly as to how soon they want to do it, they did push this argument out for several weeks, which doesn't suggest that they're in any sort of rush to come to a decision.